Right, so today we'll start off with a simple topic, that is plasma and plasma volume expanders as well as shock. So first we'll discuss about plasma expanders. Now, by the name, you can understand that these are drugs. They are not exactly drugs. These are substances that are given to increase the volume of plasma. Essentially, these are high molecular weight substances, which will essentially what they will do is they will get infused into your blood, and they will exert a osmotic pressure. Okay, you give it by IV, and they will exert an osmotic pressure inside the body for a longer period of time in order to increase the volume of circulatory fluid. So essentially, let us suppose there is a patient who is having severe dehydration due to burns, or they are having hemorrhage, severe hemorrhage, and in them blood volume has significantly gone down. To maintain that normal amount of fluid in your body, specifically blood in your body, you need to give plasma expanders, okay, to stabilize the patient for a period of time. Now you get multiple different types of plasma expanders, but essentially the idea is that for a time period wherein the patient is having this, what do you call, dehydration, or the patient is having a hemorrhage, you will be able to stabilize the patient, or specifically you'll be able to maintain their circulatory fluid volume. Okay, any ideal plasma expander will be long acting. So obviously it is very hard to find a proper ideal plasma expander. You can get close with a few plasma expanders, but finding a proper ideal one is hard. Okay, at least it hasn't been invented yet. It will be comparable to plasma. This is ideal scenario, okay? An ideal plasma expander should have the following properties. It should be very comparable to plasma, especially in the oncotic pressure that it exerts. Okay. If you remember, oncotic pressure is the pressure exerted by the fluid in order to make sure fluid stays inside the blood vessel. Hydrostatic pressure is the pressure exerted by that fluid or by the components inside the blood, which will make the plasma go out of your blood vessel. So you want oncotic pressure to be high in this scenario rather than hydrostatic pressure. You want fluid to stay inside your blood vessel rather than go out. It should be long acting, should not get disintegrated easily. It should be pharmacologically inert. So it should not have any pharmacological activity altogether. Logically, even though it is increasing the blood volume, and it will not exactly have a pharmacological effect per se. It is only increasing your circulatory volume. Okay. Non-antigenic. It should not stimulate your immune system in any way. Okay. Um, these are some of the ideal properties that any uh, you know ideal plasma expander should have. Now, the drugs that are given as plasma expanders will include dextrans. You can include colloids and crystalloids. Colloids and crystalloids का example is dextrose and normal saline. ठीक है, both of them will come as crystals and crystalloids. उसको dilute करके you make NS and you make dextrose. Dextrose solution. You can use dextrans, though they will have their own disadvantages. Dextrans will generally cause allergic reactions. Uh, you can use gelatin products as well. Gelatin products rarely cause allergic reactions, they can cause bronchospasm. So you have NS, you have dextrose, you can use gelatin products. Okay, other than this, you can also use dextrans. Dextrans as such are pretty good because they work for a long period of time. They'll stay in your body for almost 24 hours. But the problem with these is that dextrans will interfere with coagulation process. Blood grouping, cross matching, coagulation process, ये पूरे में interfere करने लगता है ये. And as such, it can cause allergic reaction as well. The advantage is that this, other than just improving the fluid volume in your blood, it will also improve microcirculation, especially in cases of shock. I'll tell you what is shock in a minute, but especially in cases of shock, dextrans are very helpful when they are able to improve your microcirculation and re-establish microcirculation. Another advantage is that its shelf life is extremely long. Dextrans will stay usable for almost 10 years. Okay? One vial of Dextran or one packet of Dextran can be used for almost 10 years because it can be easily sterilized and you can store it for a long period of time. Other than this, you can also find human albumin being used. Okay, you will pool human blood, and from that, 5 to 20% solution of human albumin is given. Human albumin is also pretty good. You can give it in edema, burns, hypovolemic shock, hypoproteinemia, acute liver failure, dialysis में दे सकते हैं आप human albumin. So on and so forth. Any plasma expander as such is given when circulatory failure is occurring and things like hypovolemic shock is occurring, or the patient has severe burns which is causing dehydration, severe hemorrhage which is causing dehydration, all of those. Now coming to shock as such, you have only the therapy of shock. So before we talk about the treatment of shock, you need to understand what is shock. So shock is a condition in which, this is not electrical shock, okay? This is an acute circulatory failure, meaning your blood is not flowing properly, and there is underperfusion of tissues. Tissues are not being perfused properly, they are not being given enough amount of oxygen and blood as they require, and this is occurring very acutely, very very quickly. It is becoming worse. So symptoms of sympathetic overactivity are generally seen. That patient who has shock, they will generally show paleness, that is pallor. They will have cold extremities because blood is not reaching their extremities. Circulatory failure, now it will not be able to reach your extremities. You will also see cyanosis to a degree because cold extremities are possible. Cyanosis bhi ho sakta hai, bluish discoloration of extremities, and tachycardia. Your heart will start working extra hard, thinking that if it starts beating harder, you will have enough amount of oxygen reaching every tissue, but that might not necessarily be the case. Your failure in circulation might be due to some other reason altogether, and in a response, in any scenario, your heart is working hard just to make up that BP, which is causing tachycardia. Now shock itself is of 5 different types. The first one, hypovolemic shock. So in hypovolemic shock, there is decreased fluid volume. This is because of loss of plasma, loss of blood. It might be dehydration. In any scenario, the total amount of blood volume is decreasing. That is causing hypovolemic shock. इसमें आप directly plasma expanders दे सकते हैं. You'll be able to stabilize the patient's condition. Second, you don't have a lot of detail in shock. Okay, I'm not going into a lot of detail in each and every type of shock. Just the basics. Septic shock is the next one. Okay. Septic shock may this is precipitated by bacterial infections, more often than not by bacterial infections, specifically because of the bacterial toxins, and you need to treat the patient with antibiotics, strong antibiotics, apart from taking general measures. Okay, apart from making sure that their circulatory failure is being treated, you have to give them antibiotics, specifically antibacterial agents, to kill that bacteria. Septicemia and bacteremia में बड़ा difference ये रहता कि in bacteremia you will find a few bacteria in the blood. In septicemia you are finding big colonies of bacteria inside the blood. Big difference. Okay, instead of finding one or two bacteria or a few bacteria in the blood, you are finding proper colonies of bacteria that are going in blood. That will lead to septicemia, which in turn cause septic shock, can cause septic shock. तो वो कंडीशन में आप यू नो टिश्यू बेस्ड एंड ब्लड बेस्ड दिस ये देना पड़ता, टिजिसाइक्लिन जैसे ड्रग्स देना पड़ता इन द सिनारियो. ठीक है. देन थर्ड वन इज कार्डियोजेनिक शॉक. Now, cardiogenic shock is due to failure of your heart. Essentially, what happens is your heart will not work properly as a pump. You know your heart is working as a pump and it is pumping blood throughout your body. So whenever your atria and ventricles are contracting, the blood is being pumped throughout your body to each and every part of your body, each and every cell of your body. This cardiogenic shock generally occurs followed by myocardial infarction. Failure of your heart as a pump will occur generally in myocardial infarction. You will have to give morphine because of the excessive amount of pain that will occur. You will have to give morphine, and you will have to jumpstart the heart in certain scenarios. Okay, reestablish its condition back. Morphine is also helpful in anxiety. In this scenario, the patient will have a lot of pain and anxiety. वो दोनों के लिए भी आप morphine दे सकते हैं. Then the fourth type, anaphylactic shock. इसको एनाफिलैक्टॉइड रिएक्शन भी बोलते हैं. Anaphylactic shock is a type of hypersensitive reaction, type 1 hypersensitivity. Last year, when we discussed in biochemistry, I told you, immunopharmacology, we discussed about the 4 different types of hypersensitivity reactions. Type 1 hypersensitivity will occur here. Okay? There will be excessive release of histamine, and that will trigger, that is, the excessive histamine release is essentially triggered by an antigen antibody reaction. There will be a severe uh, whole body antigen antibody reaction that will cause excessive massive amounts of histamine to be released in the blood, and that will create a lot of problem. Okay? Generally in patients who have anaphylactic shock, उनके अंदर adrenaline देना पड़ता, their BP will plummet. Okay? Patients who have anaphylactic shock, so you'll have to give a vial of adrenaline, generally 0.3 to 0.5 ml of adrenaline, 1:1000 concentration का देना पड़ता है. You can give it intramuscular. Intramuscular भी जैसे generally intramuscular देते हैं, IV कम. If you don't have an option, you can give IV as well. Generally IM is given. Then lastly, fifth type is neurogenic shock. Neurogenic shock is generally due to a trauma, some sort of trauma. Okay? It might be a primary injury, secondary injury, whatever kind of trauma it is. The trauma is essentially leading to pooling of blood. It might be spinal anesthesia, it might be trauma to your abdomen, it might be any sort of trauma that is causing sympathetic tone to be lost. Okay? And when sympathetic tone is being lost, parasympathetic system takes over. Okay, so the main effect of neurogenic shock is that sympathetic tone will be lost, sympathetic stimulus in the body will be lost. Sympathetic, one second, tone is lost, and as a result parasympathetic response, especially the vagal response, that will be unopposed. It will become very very excessive. Vagal stimulation बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाता, and because of which parasympathetic response will become very strong. That is neurogenic shock. Generally occurs when venous pooling occurs. Veins के अंदर अगर blood pool होना शुरू हो गया, या spinal anesthesia के बाद, या abdominal या testicular injury के बाद, that is when neurogenic shock occurs. Now, normally you will have to immediately treat the patient for shock. Okay? You will have to restore their circulatory, restore their circulatory normal function. First, you have to identify the cause properly. अगर shock हुआ patient को, the guideline in treatment is that first identify what kind of shock the patient is having, then treat the patient. Elevate their foot. ठीक है? Elevate their foot end of the bed. ठीक है? This will essentially increase venous return and raises BP to a certain extent, small extent, but it will help. In an emergency condition, anything will help. BP and plasma volume should be maintained. If you need, give extra IV fluid and extra fluid expanders, plasma expanders. Now, you can give, dopamine like substances. IV dopamine can be given when BP, BP अगर बढ़ रहा नहीं तो आप dopamine दे सकते हैं. It will increase blood pressure. Plasma expanders will help in this condition. Acid base balance and electrolyte disturbances should be corrected. Sometimes what will happen is the patient will have hypovolemic shock, they'll have shock because it is associated with acid base imbalance as well. It can happen. So make sure that you are correcting acid base balance and you're collecting electrolyte imbalance if there is any, and make sure that the patient is having normal urine output. After you check for all of these conditions, you have to maintain the patient on plasma expanders because they are still not completely out of danger, because that shock can occur again. It is an acute condition, shock. So once you have stabilized the patient, make sure that you're eliminating the initial cause of shock. Okay, whatever that initial cause might be. If it is क्या बोलते हैं, cardiogenic, then treat for myocardial infarction. If it is septic, then treat with antibiotics, so on and so forth. ठीक है. Now, coming to IV fluids, I'm sure आप लोगों को last year आप लोगों के clinical से पढ़ाए होंगे, but there are 2-3 common types of IV fluids which are used again and again because those are the safer kind and they are cheap generally. They generally are not that expensive, easier to find and easier to use as well. So essentially इसमें आता है first of all your NS. See, IV fluids as such can be divided into 3 categories depending on what you want to do with it. ठीक है. You can get isotonic solutions. ठीक है. Isotonic electrolyte content रहता है उसके अंदर, meaning their concentration will be the same as your plasma. Okay. Hypotonic use कर सकते हैं आप and hypertonic use कर सकते हैं. Now what is the difference? Isotonic fluids are, they have the same osmolality as your ECF. Okay, they do not affect the size of your RBCs. RBCs will not change altogether. अगर आप हाइपरटोनिक या हाइपोटोनिक दिए तो जनरली आरबीसीज को थोड़ा इफेक्ट होता. ठीक है. And generally if you give about 1 liter of isotonic fluid, it will increase your ECF by 1 liter. Okay, it will quickly diffuse into your body and it will act as a plasma volume expander essentially. You can give it in patients who have hypertension or you can give it in cardiac failure. ठीक है. They will need to monitor. वो patient में दे सकते हैं आप, मगर वैसे patients में monitor बहुत closely करना पड़ता है because you are there is a risk of fluid overload. Normally you can give isotonic fluids if there is failure of fluid volume, normal saline या Ringer's lactate RL solution जिसको बोलते हैं, NS and RL. NS is normal saline, RL is Ringer's lactate. You can give them in patients who have cardiac failure or hypertension if they need it, but monitor for fluid overload. If fluid overload occurs, then their blood pressure and cardiac failure might be exacerbated. Sorry. Then coming to this thing. अच्छा, by the way, what is the composition of NS and RL? आप लोगों को पढ़ाए थे क्या ये? It's again very basic for nurses as such. That is why I was not going into detail. Have you all been taught about what is the content of NS and RL? अच्छा, so NS में sodium chloride रहता. The concentration is about 0.9% sodium chloride. ठीक है. So if you take 100 ml of this thing water and you mix about 9 grams of sodium chloride in it, or 9% weight by volume of sodium chloride in it, you will get 0.9% of this thing. ठीक है. 0.9% of sodium chloride solution, which is your NS. You can use it in hyponatremia when sodium level is very low. It should be avoided generally in pulmonary edema, renal impairment, or heart failure. ठीक है. NS को वो conditions में नहीं देना. But most drugs are generally diluted in NS because it is isotonic and it is very easily mixed up in your body. So it is convenient in that scenario. Ringer's lactate contains potassium, calcium, and sodium chloride. This will contain potassium, calcium, and sodium chloride. ठीक है. Now you can give this in treatment of diarrhea. ठीक है. Minor electrolyte changes को correct करने के लिए you can give it to replace gastrointestinal fluids. You can give it for hyponatremia as well. ठीक है. The lactate which is present inside it will provide bicarbonate and that helps with acidosis in the patient. If the patient is having acidosis, उसको correct करने में बहुत help करता है bicarbonate, because bicarbonate is a natural alkaline substance. Lactate having the lactate which provides the bicarbonate will reverse acidosis if the patient is having acidosis. तो उधर आप RLB यूज कर सकते हैं acidosis अगर हो रहा तो patient में. Then coming to hypotonic solution, hypotonic solutions में generally half NS देते. So what is half NS? Essentially it is 0.45% of sodium chloride. When do you give this? Let us suppose you want to dilute the patient's blood, or you want to dilute a patient's body fluids. ठीक है, hypernatremia हो गया patient को, if there is excessively high amounts of sodium in the patient's blood, hyperosmolar conditions, in those conditions you will give this. If there is overdosage of hypertonic solution, it can cause hypotension, it can cause cellular edema, so be careful when you give this. It can also later on lead to cell damage if you are not careful with hypotonic solutions. Conversely, hypertonic solutions are generally given when the patient has hyponatremia, hypoglycemia. वैसे conditions में आप hypertonic solution देते, ठीक है. It will be more concentrated than blood. NS भी दे सकते हैं आप, dextrose दे सकते हैं. 5% dextrose in NS can be given, or 5% dextrose in Ringer's lactate can be given, ठीक है, to make it up. Now that is about IV fluids. Very simple topic. It is not exactly something that अगर आया भी तो एक 2 marks के question के वैसा आता है. It's not exactly something that will come as a big answer. It's a very simple topic as such though. Now coming to the next unit, which is angina. So, ever heard the term angina?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what do you know about angina? Like any specific
Chest
idea
pain.
that you have? Yes, chest pain.
Chest pain.
खाली चेस्ट में होता है या कहीं और भी होता? कलेजी, फेफड़े और कहीं होता क्या दर्द, या खाली चेस्ट में होता? No. You will also have pain that will radiate down your left arm, right? Sometimes with angina. No. On the surface of your left arm, generally on the flexor surface of your left arm, आपके biceps के पास वहाँ पर भी बहुत पेन होता angina में. So what will happen is essentially it is a type of referred pain that occurs from your heart to your left shoulder, and from your left shoulder into your flexor muscles. So angina is the chief symptom of IHD. It is associated with ischemic heart disease. What is ischemic heart disease? अपन पहले पढ़ लिया ये पैथोलॉजी में.
Inadequate oxygen.
Unavailability of oxygen to your heart, right? That is essentially ischemic heart disease. Your heart muscle or your cardiac tissue is not getting enough amount of oxygen because of, generally it is associated with the atherosclerosis, but it might be a clot, it might be whatever. अगर एथेरोस्क्लेरोसिस है तो जनरली उसको CAD के अंदर क्लासिफाई करते हैं. इस्केमिक हार्ट डिजीज इज अ पार्ट ऑफ CAD इन अ वे, ठीक है, हैंड इन हैंड, दोनों कजन्स के वैसे है. Ischemic heart disease में there is not enough amount of oxygen being provided, oxygen and blood being provided to your muscles of your heart, and that leads to accumulation of metabolites. So you know that each and every cell in your body is performing various metabolic processes, and especially muscles and tissues that are extremely active, like your brain or your heart, which are always functioning. Now your heart does not stop at any time. If it stops, it will be a problem. Okay, you will stop if the heart stops, so you will stop existing. So in that scenario, keeping that in mind, you will know that your heart is always working, and for it to always keep on working, it must be a very active tissue. Any active tissue produces a lot of metabolic waste because it is so metabolically active. Think about it. Your epithelial tissue is just existing, and it will, use up some amount of glucose, and it will perform a lot of metabolic processes. Then imagine, in comparison to a normal epithelial tissue, how much glycolysis and how many metabolic reactions should a active tissue like your cardiac tissue should perform. It will be significantly higher. So as a result, the metabolic waste product that is found by your heart tissue will also be equally as much. Okay, if not more, it will be much more when compared to epithelial tissue. Now, in patients who have ischemic heart disease, they are not able to receive enough amount of blood and oxygen to your cardiac tissue. Now, blood not only provides oxygen and nutrients, it will also take away metabolites. ठीक है, जो भी toxic metabolites है, those are also taken away from the tissue so that they can be disposed of. They are taken to your liver to be metabolized, and they are taken to various parts of the body to be broken down. Now, when these metabolites generally start accumulating, it will cause pain. So, essentially, what happens is with ischemic heart disease, that patient will have severe, sudden substernal pain. Substernal, as in under the sternum, there will be discomfort or there might be pain. It might not necessarily be like sharp shooting pain always, it might start as a discomfort, uncomfortable feeling as well. And that feeling or that pain might radiate to your left shoulder, and along your left shoulder it will go to the flexor surface of your left arm, and the whole area will start hurting essentially. Okay, oxygen supply to the heart is low, sometimes heart attack develops. Okay, if angina continues, angina is one of the initial signs of myocardial infarction. It can be, ठीक है, पेशेंट हु हैव अंजाइना उनके अंदर मायोकार्डियल इन्फार्क्शन होने का चांस बढ़ के रहता. The chances of a patient developing myocardial infarction will be higher for those who have angina or who have been diagnosed with angina. Now, there are three general forms of angina. Even though there are more subforms, there are three basic forms of angina: classical, variant, and unstable angina. So, first we'll talk about classical. There are three forms of angina. Classical is also called exertional angina. Exertion means putting in effort, तो इसको angina of effort भी बोलते हैं. So by the name you can understand, here pain is being induced uh, by some sort of exertion. When the patient exerts themselves, it might be exercise, physical exertion, or it might be emotional exertion. Whatever it is, both of these will increase myocardial oxygen demand because of slight tachycardia. Essentially, whenever your heart is beating more aggressively or it is beating more number of times because of exercise or emotion, the demand of oxygen on your myocardial tissue increases. In these patients, narrowing of coronary arteries due to atherosclerosis might occur. Okay? And as a result, coronaries will not be able to dilate on time, and they will not be able to dilate in such conditions where they are, exercising or they are emotional. So normally what will happen in a healthy person, blood supply will generally increase. Okay, but in these patients, when their coronaries are not able to dilate, your blood vessels itself are not able to adapt to the changes of your heart. Okay, normally if in a person who is exercising, unke andar coronary arteries will be able to dilate and they'll be able to increase your blood supply to the heart. In patients who have atherosclerosis or whose coronary arteries are narrowing, unke andar there will be a imbalance in demand and supply of oxygen. That imbalance in demand and supply, so essentially there is a lot of demand but there is limited supply. Because of that, the patient will have angina, classical angina essentially. Okay, so angina of effort or a classical angina is when the patient is, exerting exerting themselves either physically or emotionally, but their body is not able to cope up, or essentially their blood vessels are not able to cope up specifically. Second type is variant. Variant, or this is also called Prinzmetal angina. Okay. This will occur at rest. Okay. Prinzmetal angina is attributed to spasms of your coronary artery. So, what is a spasm? Can anyone tell me what is a spasm? We discussed about muscle spasm earlier, long ago. Same will apply here as well.
So there is no proper muscle contraction.
Mm. contractions are erratic. Okay, so in a spasm there will be transient erratic contractions of a particular muscle or a tissue. So when I talk about um, spasm of coronary artery, what is happening is, let us suppose this is how your blood vessel normally is supposed to be, coronary blood vessel. Imagine this is how it normally is supposed to be. Number one, okay. In spasm, what will happen is whenever there is coronary artery spasm, this is switching in between like this. So it is constricting, then it is dilating, then it is constricting and dilating again. So it might be a big portion of the artery or it might be a smaller portion of the artery. In any scenario, what is happening, whenever that blood vessel is contracting without any proper stimulus, matlab yahan par without any reason it is contracting. As a result, what will happen is the total amount of oxygen that can reach your cardiac tissue will decrease, right? Either you cause a blockage or you cause constriction. Either way, blood is not able to reach your heart properly, and as a result cardiac tissue properly. As a result, these patients will have angina even at rest. Okay, even if they are not exerting themselves in any way, unke andar because of spasms of the coronary artery they can have angina, that is variant or prinzmetal angina. ठीक है, समझ में आया ये? Those blood vessels are essentially contracting or they are undergoing spasms, transient spasms. Transient का मतलब over time they are switching. Essentially they are timed changes. तो एक टाइम पे dilated रहता है, immediately contract होता है, फिर dilate होता है, फिर contract होता है. तो because of that what happens is blood supply is very erratic. There's no constant supply of blood. As a result, it will cause damage to your heart, leading to angina. Essentially, metabolites will start getting accumulated, leads to angina. Lastly, there is unstable angina. Unstable angina is because of combination of factors. Okay, those factors will include increased myocardial oxygen demand. Now that increased myocardial oxygen demand might be emotional or physical or whatever it is. Your heart wants more oxygen. That is that along with coronary vasospasms and platelet aggregation. So unstable angina में तीन factors है which are causing angina, and this is a condition that requires immediate treatment. Okay, kind of a emergency condition. So इसमें increased myocardial O2 demand plus vasospasms, coronary vasospasm plus blood clots or platelet aggregation specifically. Let me put it that way. Okay. As platelets aggregate, they will end up making a clot, and all of this will essentially contribute to not enough amount of oxygen and blood reaching your heart. And first demand is increasing, then because of the next two reasons, the amount of blood that is reaching your heart is decreasing, leading to unstable angina. Okay. There's no particular cause as such, मतलब ये तीन causes है, but there is no essential, how should I put it, hierarchy. It can start with anything. It can start with increased oxygen demand, or it can start with coronary vasospasms, or it can start with platelet aggregation. In any scenario, the patient will have pain in their heart as well as the left arm. Now generally angina is associated with ACS, acute coronary syndrome. Anginal pain occurring at rest, especially due to rupture of a atherosclerotic plaque, will be classified under ACS. Okay. So even at rest, let us suppose there is a patient who has atherosclerotic plaques throughout their body. You know what is an atherosclerotic plaque. Now in this scenario, what happens is that person is a ticking time bomb. So whenever that plaque, let us suppose there is a plaque in a big artery or in a big blood vessel, it is fine. Whenever that atherosclerotic plaque detaches, the plaque can detach, and it can form an embolus, or even if it is not detaching, That plaque, if it starts proliferating and at one point, let us suppose it is blocking the whole of that artery, what will happen? Blood supply will get cut off, and in whichever artery blood supply is getting cut off, ultimately it will affect your heart. Think about it. कहीं भी अगर heart, if your heart is not able to what do you call, any artery, if that is getting blocked, ultimately one way or the other, because your whole circulation is connected, at one point or the other your heart will get this thing affected. And it is more profound if those atherosclerotic plaques are occurring in your coronaries. ठीक है, अगर कोरोनरी आर्टरीज में ये एथेरोस्क्लेरोटिक प्लाक्स हो रहे हैं तो इट इज इवन मोर डेंजरस. दैट कंडीशन इज कॉल्ड acute coronary syndrome. ठीक है, you will immediately have to the patient will have unstable angina and coronary thrombosis. You'll immediately have to start giving drugs and perform surgery if the patient is not stabilizing. Now, the idea behind anti-anginal drugs, or drugs that are used to treat angina, is to improve the balance of oxygen. ठीक है, the improve the balance between oxygen supply and demand. Essentially what you are trying to do is you are trying to decrease the demand and you are trying to increase the supply. ठीक है, आप दोनों साथ में भी कर सकते. You increase the oxygen supply to your myocardium by dilating the blood vessels. ठीक है, coronaries को अगर आप dilate कर दिए, then oxygen supply will increase. ठीक है, that is one way. Or you can decrease the demand of oxygen by decreasing the activity of your heart. Essentially you're decreasing preload or afterload, or you're decreasing heart rate, or you're decreasing all of those. Okay, you can either decrease preload, or you can decrease afterload, or you can decrease heart rate in general, or you can decrease all of them altogether. एक साथ भी कम कर सकते. So essentially what is happening is the workload on your heart, or the work performed by your heart, will decrease. As a result, it will not require as much oxygen, meaning oxygen demand is going down. तो आप दोनों दोनों में से एक को तो भी कर सकते हैं, या दोनों भी साथ में कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, to treat angina, to treat that pain. Now, the first class of drugs that is given in anti-anginals, in this also you will find drugs being repeated, which we've already discussed. So four different classes are used. Two we've already discussed earlier, two we'll discuss in this. New drugs. Technically, एक उसमें से आ भी गया already. First class is nitrates. So this is a classic vasodilator, just like hydralazine. This is a vasodilator. What this fellow will do is essentially nitrates go into your body and they will release nitric oxide. Nitric oxide की speciality ये है कि it can activate GMP, activates vascular guanylyl. One second. Yeah, it will activate vascular guanylyl cyclase. Why is this enzyme important? Guanylyl cyclase is responsible for controlling GMP, specifically cyclic GMP. Whenever you activate vascular guanylyl cyclase, it will cause increase in cyclic GMP. You know, cyclic GMP is one of the most important factors that is responsible for dilation of muscles. Okay, whenever cyclic GMP is activated or CAMP is also activated, it will cause थोड़े muscles में GMP रहता, थोड़े muscles में CAMP रहता. Either way, whenever its synthesis is stimulated, increases CGMP synthesis. ठीक है. As a result, what will happen is cytosolic calcium decreases. Decrease in cytosolic calcium. The amount of calcium inside that particular muscle and that particular cell decreases. If calcium is decreasing, what will happen to that muscle? Specifically, यहाँ पर अगर blood vessel पे काम कर रहा होता है, those are smooth muscles, because we are talking about the action of nitric oxide on your vascular tissue, on your blood vessels. The muscles involved will be smooth muscles. If calcium level decreases in smooth muscle, will they not this thing dilate? स्मूथ मसल डायलेशन होता है इससे, या स्मूथ मसल रिलैक्सेशन होता है इससे. That is the mechanism of action. So nitric oxide or any nitrate that you give, सोडियम नाइट्रोक्लोराइड भी ऐसी काम करता है. सोडियम नाइट्रोक्लोराइड will specifically cause increase in CAMP. Nitrates like nitric oxide will cause increase in CGMP. They will have similar function. Both of them will activate a particular enzyme called guanylyl cyclase, vascular guanylyl cyclase, because of which CGMP synthesis occurs in this. Calcium levels in your cytosol, in the muscle, smooth muscle of your blood vessel will decrease, and as a result, the smooth muscle itself will relax. And whenever your smooth muscle is relaxing, obviously it will cause vasodilation. Okay. So the idea is by performing vasodilation, you will decrease both preload, afterload, and by dilating your coronaries, you're removing all that metabolic waste from your heart, in front of your heart, and it will inhibit platelet aggregation as well. Okay. Nitric oxide has an effect where it can inhibit platelet aggregation. So it is very useful in conditions like ACS, or very useful in conditions like unstable angina. Emergency conditions में बहुत अच्छा काम आता nitrates. Now, normally you give it orally. You can also give it as a sublingual tablet. You can give it parenterally in emergencies, but sublingual tablets will also work. The biggest adverse effects that occur with, or the adverse effect that occurs with sodium, this thing, nitrates, is tolerance. Now, tolerance will develop to the vascular effects of nitrates, meaning over, if you use it for a very long period of time, your blood vessels, or the smooth muscles of your blood vessels, will get used to nitrates. And every time you'll have to give higher and higher doses. To avoid this, what you can do is you can make a proper schedule when you are giving nitrates. Essentially, that patient should be free from nitrates for at least 8 hours in a day. Patient should be free of nitrates for at least 8 hours per day. So no matter how you give that drug, whether you give OD, BD, or TID, just make sure that they are free from the drug for at least 8 hours in a day. Okay? As long as you are maintaining that kind of a break, the patient will not develop tolerance. Okay? And another thing, don't stop the drug abruptly. If you stop the drug abruptly, it will precipitate angina itself. Okay? Vascular spasms will occur because your body is developing tolerance, it is getting used to those nitrates. Whenever you abruptly stop nitrates, when you immediately stop nitrates without any without tapering it, that patient will have a lot of problems. Okay. And another thing, an important adverse effect, or not adverse effect, drug interaction that occurs with this, it is with sildenafil. Sildenafil बल्कि एक drug रहता, ये Viagra is sildenafil. So when you give sildenafil and nitrates together, sildenafil will potentiate the action of nitrate. It will increase the action of nitrate, and as a result, what will happen is it will cause hypotension, very, very strong hypotension, severe hypotension will occur. Sildenafil itself is a hypotensive agent. If you give it with nitrates, it will cause severe hypotension, and this might lead to death. The patient will have a heart attack, and it might lead to death. Now, other than nitrates, you can also use calcium channel blockers in angina, specifically verapamil. Verapamil, diltiazem भी use कर सकते हैं आप, because they are cardiac suppressants, cardiac depressants है वो, दोनों भी बहुत अच्छा काम आते हैं. You can use beta blockers, but use it carefully when you use beta blockers. If the patient is having a vasospastic type of angina where they are having vasospasms, essentially अगर patient को variant type of angina है या prinzmetal angina है, उनके अंदर नहीं देना ये बीटा ब्लॉकर्स. ठीक है, दूसरे टाइप ऑफ एंजाइना में दे सकते हैं आप. यू कैन गिव इट इन क्लासिकल एंजाइना, अवॉइड इट इन वेरिएंट एंजाइना और अनस्टेबल एंजाइना. डोंट गिव इट इन पेशेंट्स हु हैव vasospastic angina. You can give metoprolol. You can also give bisoprolol. Lastly, the last class of drugs are potassium channel openers. ये openers है, okay? Be careful. Don't get them confused with potassium channel close, potassium channel blockers. इसमें एक ड्रग आता निकोरांडल बोल के, नॉर्मली इट इज नॉट यूज बिकॉज इट इज अ वेरी एक्सपेंसिव ड्रग. So by opening, essentially by the name itself, you can understand this will open your potassium channel for it will keep the potassium channel open for a longer period of time, and as a result, what will happen is hyperpolarization will occur of the muscle. The muscle will stay in hyperpolarization for a longer period of time because potassium channels are being removed. Potassium ions are being removed from your cell for a longer duration, and it will cause smooth muscle relaxation. It can lead to hyperkalemia. It will seem as if your potassium levels in the blood are very high. This is an arterial and venous dilator, so it will decrease the demand of your demand of oxygen by your heart significantly. ठीक है. आप अंजाइना में यूज कर सकते हैं when other drugs are not showing any effect. ठीक है. When CCBs, beta blockers and nitrates are not showing proper effect, that is when you use potassium channel blockers. Normally नहीं यूज करते, इसके adverse effects भी रहते हैं थोड़े, but other than that a bigger problem is it is very expensive, so that is why Nicorandil is generally left as a last measure. So those are the drugs that are used in angina. Now in the next class we'll start your Hematenex. अब हेमाटेनिक स्टार्ट करने से पहले आई वुड सजेस्ट आप लोग ओरल एंटीकोएगुलेंट्स एंड फाइब्रोनोलाइटिक्स वो पूरा आता. एक बार गो थ्रू दिस थिंग, क्लॉटिंग कैस्केड. व्हाट इज इंटरेस्ट